Hello everyone and welcome back to another DC miniature game battle report. This table setup was going to be used for a third edition Batman battle report, but it's getting a little bit stale. So as you'll know if you've been with the channel for a little while, when it comes time to clear a Batman table and make a new one, we call in the DC boys and they wreck the joint to make it easier to build up a new table. So we're doing a DC miniature game battle report, approximately 50 power level. I think one team is 49, but close enough. And let's get right into it and take a look at who's playing today. So the villainous cohorts on the table today are, well, I was going to say being led by, but not really. He's just the highest power level here. Sinestro, Black Manta, Owlman, the Red Death, and Deathstroke, who also was seen in the most recent 3rd edition battle report for Batman as well. And the hero side is basically going with the rule of how many Batmen can you get on one list without breaking the rule that they can't have the same alias. In other words, you can't have two Bruce Waynes in the same team. So we have Flashpoint Batman, Thomas Wayne. We have the Nightfall Batman, Jean-Paul Valley. We have Batfleck, which is Bruce Wayne. Then we just have Ezra Miller Flash, which is equivalent to Red Death. And then, just because he was fun last time and Sinestro's here this time, we have Hal Jordan, Green Lantern again. So we're going to play a rulebook scenario, Danger Zone, which we have played before. That is simply that there is a Danger Zone spot right smack dab in the middle of the map. There is a 6-inch bubble around it. Any person within that 6-inch bubble can spend 1 power, do an agility roll. If they pass it, score a victory point. Simple as that. The other scoring condition is that if you incapacitate a model, you also score 1 victory point. Remember rightly, we did this one at Christmas with the Christmas tree being the place of power, right? I think we did. And everybody was filling their agility rolls left and right. We shall see if that happens again when we're back with deployment, which is 6 inches on either edge. So both sides are set up, and this is going to be a quick to the action one because of how many people on both sides have infiltrate. 1 bat person on the hero side has infiltrate, 3 on the villain side have infiltrate. So the Flash is deployed there, Batfleck is there, Nightfall Batman, Green Lantern, but the infiltrator, you can technically go anywhere, it's just being a little bit conservative with the deployment here with the Flashpoint Batman. Then over here, Red Death, he has infiltrate, so he's there. Deathstroke has infiltrate, so he's there. Owlman has infiltrate, so he is there. The only 2 in the villain deployment, Black Manta is hidden under there, getting ready to rush for the place of power. And then just showing off because he's one of the few people who has fly, Sinestro is up here on the Ferris wheel with his 10 power generated as well. All that remains to be seen is who is going first. This is the only game we're playing on the channel now where there's a drawing from a bag to see who goes first each battle round. Kinda miss it. And it will be the villains going first in battle round 1. So Red Death got the game started and he came out swinging. He moved forwards with 1 power for 10 inches to roughly there. He then spent 1 power first to an agility test and passed it to search the danger zone because he was within 6. So that's 1 victory point. Then he spent 5 power to do Supermass Critical Punch, his once per game super attack, on poor Flashpoint Batman, who's like 70 years old, it's very mean. Smacked him, pushed him back 3, lowered his physical defense by 2 because of Distract, and dealt 5 damage. He did try and boost his physical defense, but there was no going. It went right through. And because he has Agile, he's allowed to make 2 movements, so he spent his last power, and he has Phase Shift, so he can just go through scenery to Phase Shift through to there. So even though he has no power and is suffering from tired or whatever the rule is called, I don't think anyone's going to get him over there. Batman, as a normal Batman, activated first for the heroes. He used his once per game bat claw, so I thought it was worth starting on that building. Right down to there, he expended a power to do the check in the danger zone and successfully found whatever it was he was looking for, so he scored 1 victory point. He shot his Kryptonite grenade launcher at Deathstroke because it's Mystic Defense or whatever it is, the one defense that he's very bad at. And it did 2 damage. Oh, prior to that he spent 1 power to try and trick Deathstroke, which would have lowered his physical defense by 2, but that failed. So, all said and done, he's banged 1 power, generated 1 victory point, and managed to do 2 damage to Deathstroke. Thomas Wayne Jr., Owlman, moved up 1 power's worth of distance from where you can see. Then he expended a power to do a search, and he succeeded for 1 victory point. Then he overloaded his gun. It's a once per turn attack. Shot at Batman, who did buff his physical defense, but it wasn't enough, all said and done, and he took 2 damage from it. Nothing else he can really do with the 3 power there, so he has banked that. Flashpoint Batman moved up, spent 1 power on just 4 inches, I think it is, because he's slow. To where he was there, then he just expended a total of 6 power for 3 handgun attacks. He can do it as many times as he wants attack. On Owlman, who did spend a power to buff his physical defense. As a result, only 1 bullet got through for 2 damage. It wouldn't matter because he's already activated, but he has a free passive called Vital Poison, and as long as he successfully hits someone, they have to spend +1 more power to attack that. Well, they have to spend 1 more power, to use their powers until the end of the round. But again, because Owlman's already activated, it doesn't matter this time. Black Manta activated, spent 2 to move forwards 9 to where you can see him, spent a power to search the danger zone and found something, so that's another victory point for the villains. Then he spent his 5 remaining power on his once per game Death Ray, fired it at Batman. Energy defense, he had no power left to change his defensive stance, so it did full damage, which is 4. It does pierce, but the pierce has to go in a line, so it won't actually catch Flashpoint Batman. So, it's still nasty though. He's in his pill zone, so he'll be doing a knockout check at the end of the battle round. Hal Jordan, I was going to call him Green Arrow there. Green Lantern, he spent 2 power to move forwards twice. He opted not to try and get close enough to do a search for the objective. He wanted to do some damage. So he used his, what was it called again, Blunt Instrument, which we discussed last time we played DC. The general consensus in the comments is the reason the wording is the way it is because it's classed as a free throw for him, meaning he can still do a normal throw even though normal throws are meant to be once per game. And Blunt Instrument also increases his strength from 3 to 4, so he can lift bigger stuff with the power of his ring. So that seems to be the thing. So he picked up the concession stall that was there, flung it at Owlman and Black Manta. Both of them failed their agility rolls, so they both took 2 damage from that. Then he did his, what's it called, Green Blast. It's an energy blast with his ring on Black Manta, using up the rest of the power he had, and that also got through for 3 more damage, so Black Manta got pretty hurt there. That might matter in the long run. So Sinestro must have been waiting for Green Lantern to make a move because he activated. He spent 3 to fly down here, and then he kind of copied him. He used his Blunt Instrument, which is exactly the same, to pick up the concession stand there, and flung it specifically at Batman, who failed his agility roll and took 3 damage from it, or 4, whichever one of those it was. Yeah, 4, because the concession stand did 4. Then he fired a yellow energy blast of fear at Batman. Energy is not this Batman's forte. It got through for 3 as well, which put him in his blue zone. However, he did pass his KO check. Jean-Paul Valley, Nightfall Batman in other words, moved up and then used his once per game expansive flamethrower hands to burn Owlman and Black Manta. Unfortunately, they both passed their agility rolls, so they took half damage rounding down. It's normally 3, but it becomes 1 damage each. Then with his last 2 power, he chucked some batarangs at Black Manta and got through for 1 additional damage. And that is it. So now it's over to Deathstroke to end the turn for the villains, and then it's just the Flash to end the turn for the heroes. A lot of fighting for battle round 1. So Deathstroke spent 2 to move his full allocation down here to where you can see him. He spent 1 to search the danger zone and succeeded, so that's another victory point. Then he just used a sword attack on Batman, because even if he did his once per game, it wouldn't have done enough damage to kill him. Would have left him 1 HP, but wouldn't have killed him. So he tried to do a sword attack. It's irresistible, so ignores the +1 resistance he gets to physical if he's in the physical defense stance, but it still wasn't enough to get through, so no damage done there. So now it's over to the Flash to take us to the end of battle round 1. The Flash spent 2 to move forwards, 15 to where you can see him. He spent a power to search the danger zone and succeeded, and scored a victory point. Then he spent the rest of his power on overloading his once per game Supermass Critical Punch, basically copying how the Red Death started his turn, smacked Black Manta in the chest with his super fast fist, did the full 4 damage, knocked him back 3, and that put Black Manta 2 HP away from dying? Sorry, no, 3. He has 2 HP left. No, he has 3 HP left. I can't count. He has 3 HP left, but he did go into his blue zone and immediately failed his willpower roll, so he has been knocked unconscious. And that does take us to the recap for the first battle round. So that was the most action-packed battle round 1 I think any of these battle reports have had, thanks to how many characters were able to infiltrate outside of their deployment zone. Black Manta's unconscious, Batman stayed conscious. In terms of victory points, the villains are ahead. They successfully searched the danger zone 4 times, and the heroes have successfully searched it twice. There are extra victory points for getting casualties, though, so Black Manta is precariously close to that, and so is the Ben Affleck Batman. But let's see who will be going first in battle round 2. It's more likely to be the heroes, but isn't necessarily. But it is the heroes going first in battle round 2. To get Battle Round 2 started, Green Lantern had a fantastic turn. He flew himself over here. He spent 3 on the, what's it called, the Construct? No, Blunt Instrument, I keep forgetting. To pick up the truck that was there and fling it at Owlman and Black Manta. The truck was a little bit larger than the standard cars, so opted to make that count as like a camper van in the rules or whatever, so it's 5 damage in total, not 4. 2 was issued to Owlman, 3 to Black Manta. They both failed their agility rolls and took full damage. That killed Black Manta for 1 victory point. Then as a follow-up, he fired his green blast at Owlman. Also opted to use Power of Will, which is a free active he can use, which means that you add on his willpower to the success on the d8s, not his attack. So you have to save before you roll, but his willpower is massive, so it basically guarantees a hit. And he did, so that is Owlman taking 5 damage. He's in his pale zone, I believe. 7 more hits will kill him. And yeah, that was good. But one thing to point out, he banked 1 power. He could not spend it to search the danger zone because although part of his base is within 6, the rules in the scenario specify you have to be wholly within 6. So after Sinestro's turn, there was some more table remodeling, but first a quick correction. Forgot that if someone fails an agility roll when something gets thrown at them, they're automatically knocked down, so Owlman is knocked down and will have to spend a power to stand up. So Sinestro moved here, checked the danger zone and scored a victory point, then did Blunt Instrument to pick up the building, because when either he or Green Lantern use Blunt Instrument, their class is Strength 4, small buildings are T4 so they can pick them up. He picked it up and he chucked it at Nightfall Batman, Flashpoint Batman, and also a barrier got caught in it here, so at least 1 point of damage had to be distributed there. 6 damage in total for the building, 1 done to the barrier which destroyed it, 1 assigned to Nightfall Batman, and the rest to Flashpoint. They both passed their agility roll, however. Even old man Thomas Wayne at the back there, he passed his agility roll. So annoyed by that, he then used his yellow beam, or whatever it was called, on this Batman, who did spend a power to buff his energy defense, and as a result couldn't pierce his armor. So Sinestro, despite having a destroy turn, did not have an effective turn. Speaking of ineffective turns, Batman activated. He spent a total of 5 power on an overloaded once per game sneak attack on Deathstroke, and Deathstroke did buff his physical defense. Didn't really need to, as it turns out, because it was a 4-1-1 on the 3d8s, so nothing got through. He did, however, check the danger zone because he's wholly within 6 and got a victory point for that. All said and done, he's banking 1 power, but and he has to do another check to see if he falls unconscious. Let's do that on camera. 9. This Batman's willpower is probably... yeah, his willpower is 10, so he's fine. He's still conscious, so that does count. Back over to the villains. Sticking right here, Slade activated, did his once per game Assassin Strike, overloaded it as well, I think, and either way did 4 damage through to Batman, which left him on exactly 1 HP, so he followed up with just a Bow Strike, which got through for 2. The last power was spent to increase his physical defense, but he was on -2 because he's almost dead, no -1 because he's almost dead, and Deathstroke's attacks ignore the +1 bonus resistance he gets from his heavy bat armor, which is annoying because if that wasn't the case, the 4 damage wouldn't have happened. But that is 1 victory point scored for taking Batman off the table. The Flash activated and stayed where he was. He spent a power to search the danger zone, succeeded for 1 victory point. Then he did a combination of a charge and kinetic burst on Owlman, who did buff his energy defense to compensate for being knocked down. The charge was only a successful one to get through, so only did 2 damage. Did shove him 3 inches away though afterwards, so he has been pushed back slightly. And I believe he's 1 HP away from his blue zone. So he is still getting a turn, but he will still have to spend a power to stand up. Either way, it's over to the villains. There's also still Red Death to go. Owlman activated and he did not have an effective turn. He spent a power to stand up, a power to move, close enough to do his once per game sneak attack for the 4 remaining power he had. On the Flash, he was -1 to all defences because of 2 tired, since he has no power banked. But didn't matter, rolled poorly and did no damage to him. So now either Flashpoint or Nightfall Batman activate for the heroes. Jean-Paul Valley was next. He darted through for 2 power up to Owlman. He didn't have any other attacks he could do in close range other than claw attacks, but he can do as many as he wants, so he did 3 of them for 2 damage each. They all managed to get through. Owlman has been defeated for 1 victory point, and that has actually meant that both teams are now even victory points wise. Only Red Death can go to end the villain turn, and then it'll be Flashpoint Batman to end off the heroes. So Red Death spent 1 to move 10 because he's fast to where you can see him. He spent 1 to search the danger zone and succeeded for a victory point. Then he did a blast and a charge On Nightfall Batman, only the charge got through. It would have knocked him back 3, but he has toughness 1, so it reduces by 1. Still does the full damage though, so 2 damage to Jean-Paul. Forgot to mention also, for Jean-Paul's activations, you're supposed to pick a benefit from the system, which is the thing that programmed him. It's like +1 strength or +1 attack, +1 defense. He's been taking attack every time, just forgot to mention. So as a storm rages outside, the UK is being battered by Storm... what's it called? Sierra? Something like that. Sietra? Either way, anyway, Flashpoint Batman, he moved up, he did a check in the danger zone, succeeded, got a victory point. Everybody's passing their agility rolls this time, it's lovely. And then he tried to do his once per game backstab, the movie killed Reverse Flash with in Flashpoint. Tried it on Deathstroke, who only had his base physical defense, but his base physical defense is obscenely high for some reason at 18, and he wasn't able to get through, so no damage. And that takes us to the cleanup for Battle Round 2. So with the second battle round drawing to a close, everybody who would have had to do a KO check has been removed. People are falling fast thanks to the fight and breaking out early. And in terms of victory points, there was obviously victory points gained for casualties on both sides, victory points gained for danger zone searches on both sides. All said and done, it means both teams are even at the end of turn 2 with 7 victory points each. They're also even in their chances of being first in Battle Round 3. I also do not see this going beyond Battle Round 4 personally, one way or the other, because this is, people are going down fast, and it will be the heroes going again first in Battle Round 3. Green Lantern was the first activation of Battle Round 3. He moved for 1 power to where you can see him. Then he spent 3 on his once per game Power of Will, whichever one he didn't do before. No, sorry, he did Power of Will before. His once per game is Force of Will, which is a 4-inch buff bubble, and it does just catch him. It doesn't say wholly within, so Flashpoint Batman gets this as well, and he does. It's a buff, +1 to attack, +1 to all defences for the remainder of the round. So it's a one turn massive buff for everyone nearby. He then did his blunt instrument to pick up Red Death and chuck him at Deathstroke. Deathstroke managed to successfully evade the speedster being flung at him. However, Red Death took 3 damage because it's strength -1 and is knocked down by being thrown. Oh, he had 1 power left over also, and he did a check and got a point for that. I don't think we're going to be leaving the middle of the table for the rest of this game. The Red Death stood up for 1 power, then he searched the danger zone for a victory point, he succeeded, and then he did a charge and whatever the other one is called, Combo Strike, got there in the end. Combo Strike then charge on Flashpoint Batman, who did buff his physical resistance, and as a result neither hit got through, so a very ineffective turn, although he still gained a victory point I suppose, so there is that. Flashpoint Batman activated and just tried to beat Slade up with his reinforced gloves, just used everything he had for it, didn't do a check on the danger zone, but again, Slade's physical defense, all in all, just 2 damage done. Sinestro activated and he is wholly within 6, so he checked the danger zone and found something for a victory point. He then used Blunt Instrument to pick up Flashpoint Batman and chuck him at the Flash. That does 3 damage standard to him. The Flash did not see him coming and took 2 damage from the impact. Then he used his once per game Fear Overwhelming, or Overwhelm. I guess you really should just call it Overwhelming Fear. But either way, on Flashpoint Batman it did 4 additional damage. That put him in his pale zone, or sorry, his blue zone. He's almost dead. 4 damage will do it, but he managed to stay conscious thanks to his powerful willpower stat. Flash activated and his first attempt to search the danger zone failed, so he had to use another power to do it again to keep the points even. Then he moved next to Red Death, unleashed a charge attack, and the combo strike, only the one that's energy based, got through for just 2 damage on Red Death, leaving him with no power left, and it's Slade now to end off the villain's 3rd turn. It was a fairly ineffective turn for Slade. Next, he took 2 attempts to find something in the danger zone for a victory point, then he moved next to and did a sword attack on Flashpoint Batman and rolled poorly. So now it's just Nightfall to end off Battle Round 3. So it really is just a tit for tat brawl breaking out in the danger zone. So Nightfall Batman, he searched, he got a victory point, he moved next to Slade and did a couple of claw attacks. One was overloaded and that's the one that managed to actually pierce his physical defense for just 2 damage, and that takes us to the cleanup for Battle Round 3. So at the end of Battle Round 3, Flashpoint Batman did not fall unconscious, he didn't give in to his wounds, so he's staying standing. That was the only check that had to be done. The Red Death and the Flash both regenerated 1 HP each. And in terms of victory points, as the wind howls outside, it's getting stronger. Both teams are still even. It's tit for tat all the way at 10 victory points each. And now it is more likely that the villains go first in the next battle round. But it isn't. It's the heroes. So to get Battle Round 4 started, Green Lantern stayed where he was and he used his once per game Green Gatling on Deathstroke, overloaded it just to guarantee the damage got through. 5 damage. He then had 3 power left over, which he used on his Green Blast. He also used his free reactionary thing, so he adds on his willpower, not his attack, which made sure that got through, which was enough to take out Deathstroke for 1 victory point. He didn't search the Danger Zone, but he still earned 1 victory point and removed a threat from the table before it could get a turn. Sinestro activated to try and get some revenge. He used his Blunt Construct to pick up Flashpoint Batman and throw him at Nightfall Batman. Poor old Flashpoint took 3 damage from that. Nightfall, however, evaded and took nothing. Then he tried to do a Yellow Blast, which would have been enough damage to kill Flashpoint, but it did not get through his energy defense. He's banking 2 energy with which he could activate his once per game energy field to buff his energy and physical defense, I think it is. But it's back over to the heroes. Flashpoint Batman activated, stayed where he was, searched the Danger Zone for a victory point, then shot his Joe handguns, twice, but one of which was overloaded. All said and done, just 2 damage to the Red Death, and that is it. The Red Death lived up to his name as he ends the villain's turn, because there's only 2 of them left. He searched, got a victory point, moved, then he did Enervating Black Bats, which is an AoE drain of power, so Nightfall Batman and the Flash have lost 2 power each. Then he just did an overloaded charge into Flashpoint Batman, 2 damage, he only had 1 health left, so he is gone, so he earned himself 2 victory points that turn. The Flash searched the Danger Zone and got a victory point. Then he unleashed a Kinetic Burst and a Charge into the Red Death, both of which hit for 2 damage each, and then the latter also shoves for 3, so he has been pushed there. Now it is just Jump Off Valley to end the turn. Nightfall Batman searched the Danger Zone for a victory point, successfully, and then he just tried to use his claws on the Red Death, managed to do 2 damage, which did put him in his pale zone, so he's almost dead. Sorry, his blue zone. But he passed his consciousness check. He's going to have to do another one though as we go into the end of the turn. So at the end of Battle Round 4, I think we're calling the game there because the Red Death has fallen unconscious. That means his regeneration doesn't kick in. He's got 3 HP remaining, so he's an easy victory point because the other 3, like the Flash, is healed back to full. Hal hasn't been hit. And Jump Off Valley is missing 2 HP, and he's got +2 attack every turn. Basically, it would just be Sinestro getting a turn for the villains. He could technically, well, he could search to get 1, but currently the heroes are already 2 ahead before any of them do anything. He's not going to kill them. He's used his best attacks except his defensive ones because he has a once per game big heal for himself as well, which is why he was being ignored incidentally. But there's no coming back. Turn 5, turn 6 would just be the heroes pulling away. By turn 6, I mean the Red Death is dying next turn. Sinestro isn't super tanky compared to how he's more glass cannon-y. So I think we're going to call that one there and move into the conclusion. So the thing about this Danger Zone mission is, of course, it forces everybody to be in that 6-inch bubble in the middle, which is fine. But it does kind of just get to tit for tat, as we said earlier. It's just, I'll punch you, oh, but you'll punch me, oh, but then he'll punch you, but then this guy will punch you. It would have been different had there been more super-powered people. Like if there was a Superman here, a Doomsday, a Darkseid, Shazam, anybody with higher than Strength 3 normally, or Strength 4 if you use a power. Just because then you could chuck more scenery and that would make more of a difference. You could chuck people harder as well, because, as we know from previous games in this series, Strength 5, Strength 6 people, they might as well try and throw someone at every turn because that's your best power versus damage done effectiveness in the game. But this one had a theme, just trying to get as many Batmen on the table as possible while still not breaking the rule about having 2 people with the same name. You can have them on different teams, which is why there was a Bruce Wayne on the enemy team and a Bruce Wayne on the hero team as well. But, well, plus one of them is evil anyway. But the table got cleared somewhat. It's now going to get cleared fully and make way for a new 3rd edition Batman table. So that's what the DC game is good for, and why you should always bring someone with superhuman strength, just to make sure a few buildings get thrown. Very disappointing that the Ferris wheel didn't get thrown, but I guess that means it will find its place on the next table. Anyway, please do remember to show your support by liking the video and subscribing and ringing the bell if you want to see more in the future. Thank you for watching this video regardless, and I will see you in the future. Ta-ta for now.